Right, just a little cheeky walk around Alnwick. I'm actually at St Michael's here, which is beautiful. Look, there's the entrance. And it's got a really old, you've got the old cartway marks, well, it's marked out for that. It's been changed since that time, but look at that, beautiful. You've got the old yew tree and then fir trees over there. And a beautiful cherry tree in blossom. And I can hear a blackbird in the background there. I saw a robin as I came in. So I'll show you a little bit of St Michael's. Now we'll move on because I'm just going to have a cheeky look around the one small section of Alnwick. It's not the biggest of places. You can hear the church bells going there. Hear that? So they bong out the time so you know what time of the day it is. Not used so much now, but I love the way they've added, I presume that's added. It doesn't, maybe it might be an original feature, I'm not sure, but on that right hand top there, it's almost like a faux castle look to it. I quite like that, but this is a very old place. You can see from the deterioration of the sandstone. You can always tell it's a really old place. You see that door there probably comes up to my neck. That's how small it is. I find that with a lot of the really old English places, it's incredible how small they are, the doors. Because people just weren't as tall in those days. It's fascinating, all the stone stuff here. You know, the sad thing is, a lot of the stonework is going, it's eroding away and we're never going to see it again. Look at that one. In fact, this one, look at that. Lost in the sands of time there. There's another one. You can still see that it is in memory of John Kell, who died in 1799, aged 31. Wow, we only got to 30. 31, there's one there, got to about 40. People just didn't last very long in those days, unfortunately. It was a much tougher life. There's some great stones here. But again, that one, look, sandstone erosion. You can see just displacement from the ground as well. Look how that's, I don't want to go too close because these are people's graves, but look how that's leaning forward. Incredible. Sometimes what happens is the dead body decomposes and there's a loss of space there and things just move forward over time, or it's how it's been buried and not packed. Look at that one, sacred, and then you've got nothing. So that's a shame, isn't it? And that blackbird is going bananas. He's still singing. I love these old style lamps. All the ironwork on it. That's not original feature, that top section isn't, but still beautiful. So very rural here, although to be honest, Alnwick is quite large. It's larger than people might first think, and it is expanding. So at this moment in time, I think it's something like 8,111 was on the last census, is the population, but I would expect that to go much higher. And there's a teasel. Love these things, they're weird. Good little back scratchers, look. Look at that, how sharp they are. You can hear it. If you can hear that over the blackbird there. Okay, so this is St Michael's. I'll give you a rotation here. And what we'll do is we'll head down the road. There's a nice yew tree, look at that, really old. In fact, 2 yew trees, 3. That one's been cut into that position, and those ones have just been left to go. Beautiful trees, they get the little red berries on them. And I can hear a blackbird in that tree. Beautiful, isn't it? Okay, so we'll pop down here, and in the distance I can see, anyway, you may not be able to see that, but I can see Alnwick Castle, so quite a famous castle there. So I'll show you that, and we'll have a little cheeky walkabout. But the architecture here is relatively unspoiled. I mean, there's been additions to a lot of the buildings, but this is Church Lane going up Baffin Gate, and it's very unspoiled, I would say. What I'll do is I'll come back a bit just so you can have a good look, and then I'll point up to Northumberland Street. Top of Northumberland Street there, you can see there is, well, what looks like a tower. It's an old gate from the old fortifications of this town. I think that's called Potter's Gate. I don't know if that's because it was for potters or it was named after someone called Potter, but you can actually stay in that, believe it or not. What we might do is we might come back that way and we'll go down and we'll come past the castle and we'll go back up and have a look at that, but you can actually stay in that building there, so that's incredible. Don't ask me how much it costs. I expect it to be ludicrous amounts of money. So there's just some of the architecture there, so beautiful. Relatively unspoiled until you get down the bottom of Church Lane there. Apologies if you're picking up any wind noise, because it is a very windy day. It's quite cold actually. You can see the old cobble work, I'll show you on the side here. So near these vehicles, can you see the cobble work there? That's been redone at some point. It's not going way back, but originally you wouldn't have had these modern tarmac roads, that's for certain. We'll cross over a bit here, just so you can get a little look at the castle. Beautiful castle, large, expansive. Half of it, well, some of it is lived in by the Duke. And there's a museum and gallery there. I think that's called Baffin Gate, yeah. So if you were interested, there's Baffin Gate Museum. I'm not going to go in because I expect the signal will drop out if I do that. So we'll pull over here and I'll walk down towards the castle. Not a lot of people around, not at the moment anyway. And just a bit of the architecture again. There's residents obviously living here, but isn't that interesting that you've still got that old arch there made out of sandstone? Beautiful, still there to this day. And again, it matches the motif of that wall into St. Michael's there. You see the cartwheel sort of design there, and then that goes in. You can see the erosion. I'm not going to go in here because people live here, but you can see the erosion from here. I mean, you may or may not see this in 720, but it's substantial on that sandstone. Here's an interesting thing, look, the bus stop. The original bus stop at some point has got stuck in that tree. Isn't that incredible? Look at that. So that's not coming out. Look, that's metal. So at some point I expect there's been a bus stop here and this tree has grown in and around that, so you now have a bus stop stuck. Isn't that incredible? I thought that's metal as well, so it's hilarious, it's still stuck there. Anyway, we'll head on towards the castle. So you can see that in the distance there. I'll not go into the castle because, again, signal will probably cut out. Because you've got to remember, these days when you buy a new house, the walls are paper thin because everyone's trying to rip you off and be a scumbag. But obviously in those days, especially the Lords, they were in expansive places like this with extremely thick walls, so 5G is not going to cut it to go through walls like this. So I'll show you this area, then we'll walk down to the bridge, which gives you a nice little view of it, and then what we'll do is we'll probably go up this road to the right here, and I'll explain a few little other things, but in the meantime I'll just give you like a 360 here. So that would take you down to, well, if you were to go to the left down there anyway, you would end up going towards more the main area of Alnwick. And then I'll show you there, beautiful, look. So very well preserved here. That's a little antique shop. And then there's the main entrance. You can go in there. It's huge. And obviously you see all the people with the Harry Potter stuff on, which is quite good fun. I quite like to see that. I did see a lot of Harry Potter people up near the I'm trying to remember where it was now. It's completely slipped my mind, but it's where the train goes over the viaduct from the Harry Potter. Josie, both pixels are looking great. Thanks, mate. Thanks, Josie. Josie, I've whacked you as a mod. That's why you've got that spanner there. If you don't want that, let me know and I'll take that away. I just thought you're always so helpful. I'll give you mod access and see, you know, if you needed to change anything, you've got that. So I'm just hanging around. So let me guess, is it 9 o'clock where you are? I bet I'm off by an hour. Okay, so when this car goes past, I will cross over and then we'll go down to the left. Happy to be mod. You can just delete crappy comments if needed. Cheers. Oh, I was 10 minutes off. How good's that, eh? See? I've got a good memory like that sometimes, and then other things, whoop, they just slip the mind. I did have a slight reconnection there, so apologies, but we are near a very historical building. It literally just wipes out and blocks certain frequencies. Beautiful castle. I love the statues on the top there. Beautiful. I'll get as close as I can without getting hit by these cars, but I do need to cross over and come down to the left. So I'll let this take your life in your own hands. Yeah, try to get across here. For a historic town, it's busy. Okay, so I'll show you up close and then we'll go down to the left there. So as you can see on the top there, beautiful figures. And it's still an extremely good nick. And then you've got the figures on the top there. So what we'll do is I'm going to go down here to the right, and from the river I will be able to show you more of the castle. I love this droopy design on the old fence here. If you have a look, I mean obviously don't do this, but that's extremely sharp. It's certainly better than the palisade stuff that you get now. Look how spiky that is. Now isn't it interesting how you've got such a beautiful historical building here, absolutely fabulous, and then that's juxtaposed right to your side with an extremely modern building going up. Look at that. So you've got that modern building which is going to just look like anything. It's going to be awful. It's going to be an identikit building, and then you look at the old stuff, the stonemason stuff, which took real skill, and we're losing that now, unfortunately. Yeah, Josie, I completely agree, you're right. The amount of work they put in. I know, as an example, you couldn't say, well, okay, all houses were like this. No, they weren't. But there's so many beautiful, it's workmanship that's going, really. People want that sleek IKEA, boring look. So isn't that a shame? Look, you've got that old stonework there with that beautiful accented arch there, and then that modern building there, which is just going to look like any other modern building and be a load of rubbish. Big shame there, big shame. Thank you to everyone who's joining me. This is just a quick walk around one section of Alnwick. Have you seen the castle in France? They're building 100% with medieval tools. Was that on a, Josie, was that on a programme? If so, yes, I did see that. I saw some of that, and that was fascinating. You know, I mean, the Gothic style is incredible. I mean, Gothic basically means magic, because people who weren't in the know, who weren't masons, couldn't understand how that was done or how that was capable of being achieved. You know, you had these huge works of art going up in buildings which were just incredible. Okay, we'll just come up a little bit here.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Do you want to panoramic view?
That's what I'm doing. I'm just doing a live thing. Sorry.
Have you been down to the bottom?
No, but I will do. Yeah.
Okay,
I know that. Sorry, I'm just.
You know about
yes, you know. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Yeah. I've just.
With the DJI, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Have you got this one?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely spot
Absolutely
on.
Brilliant.
It's better than the last one. Really, I'm just doing a live thing on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'll not put you in if you don't want to be. I'm not gonna. I don't like that. Yeah, so for people listening here, I've got people from Australia and just talking to. I'm just showing them the building. I am aware of the view. If you go down there, you can look back and have a look.
What's the name of your vlog?
TrailTrek on the back there.
TrailTrek.
TrailTrek. Yeah.
There you go.
Have a lovely day.
Same to you.
Yes, beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful castle.
Magnificent. I just can't believe it's actually very practical.
Take care, mate. Take care. Take care.
It's a pity they can't put some of the fight of Harry Hotspur in there.
Aye, good. True, true. Yeah, okay, so... yeah. So I was just talking to a guy there from Australia, because you get a load of people visiting here. But we will go down, that lady did suggest going down to the river where, yes, you can get a fantastic view. So what we'll do is we'll move down here now. I'll just move the camera at the left because there's people coming and I don't want to put camera in people's faces because it can be annoying for them. Yeah, so if you come down here, you come down to where the river is, and it bisects some of the land owned by the castle. So the river goes from left to right here and heads towards the sea, which is the North Sea on the right, which would be to your right. Okay, so what I might do is I might cross over slightly just so we can get a better view. There. Which is supposed to be a cycle lane or something. I can never tell. Look at this is incredible. So you've got this ivy growing all along here. Beautiful. Yeah, so Josie, could you tell where that guy's accent was from? Because yes, I can detect certain accents, but I'm not the best. It used to take me a while to discern between a New Zealand accent. As usual, I've got Google Maps up, having a look around your area. Josie, have you ever thought of being a co-pilot? I think you'll be really good at that. Or a weapons officer, or whatever they call them now in the Air Force. So you have the pilot, and then you have the guy sorting out all the weapons. Look at the erosion on this. It's a shame it doesn't last forever. Look at that. In fact, look, it's coming away just from touching it very, very lightly, so I'll leave that. And then up here, you have a little road. There's some lovely, beautiful historic houses down there. Really, really nice. Like real oldie worldy, traditional stuff. In fact, if you keep going, and there's a road that goes to the right, which is even better. So if you were to visit this area, it's impeccable. This is what they call Bridge End, this area. It looks so soft, surprised it lasted that long. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I mean, sandstone itself is very easy to work with. The problem with that is, yes, it's easy to work with, but the reason it's easy to work with is because it's, you can whack it away quite easily. And as time gets in, it'll absorb water and things like that. So this is Walker Gate, and then we're looking at Bridge End. Okay, so we'll come down on the left here, and it allows you to have a nice good look at the castle. There's a load of Winnebagos coming up and down here. And just on this river, if you were to take this river to the left, any ideas what the gardens around the corner are like? The gardens I can't get into. The gardens are over that direction. They're massive. They're pretty expensive. In fact, they have just added a little place for kids, and it's going to be one of the biggest sort of adventure playgrounds for children in Europe, I think. Or it might be the third largest in Europe, certainly the biggest in the country. It's themed on elves and things like that, and it's going to have huge amount. In fact, if you look it up, if you do a Google search for Alnwick Gardens and type in something like, I think it's called Lorelei, and it was a brainchild of the Duke's wife, who wanted to do something quite special. The gardens themselves are very impressive, but if you do visit here, bear in mind you have to pay separately. So there's the river in the background there. Look at the work on this sandstone, beautiful. Then I'll show you down here. So there's the river, where sometimes you'll see people fishing. There's a pheasant there. So just in the middle, there is a brown pheasant. Now the pheasants we have here are beautiful. They used to be here for sport and shooting, and you'll find that was an introduced species, I think, from parts of Asia. But a beautiful bird, and they make a funny noise that almost sounds like a broken gate. I don't know if it comes under the historic because it's technically privately owned. So because of that, no, I don't think you could get like a pass for all of the premises. Look at the work here. This has been changed, obviously. You know, I can see this has been done by a more modern hand. But obviously it's just probably, yeah, you can see this is the original here. And then I think this is probably slightly more modern. I don't know if it's medieval, but they were certainly capable of producing curves like that in those days. It certainly wasn't a thing they couldn't do, although this plinth, that looks modern, but you never know. And certainly that pointing work's modern. But I'll show you this river. Like I say, this section itself isn't part of the gardens. The gardens are the other direction towards the sea. But it's certainly beautiful. And what we'll do is I'll come to the end of this bridge and then we'll turn around and you get an excellent view of the castle. Now you can see that's the original there, look. So remember, look, that's new, see? Then compare that to the old. Look at the depth of that erosion there. That erosion depth is like that, massive. We've got a beautiful line there. Now, here's a question. Why on earth has that line got a tail like that? Is that to point towards the castle? I mean, what's that for? I don't even know the answer to that. Right, I'm just trying to avoid the traffic here. Okay, and look at that, what a view. Yeah, I'll have a look at that line on the way back. I wonder if it's brass. I don't know if it looks like it might be original. So there's the castle there. And look at that, that's a stunning view. Bear in mind, this is just a road in Alnwick, and you can drive past and see a humongous castle like that. So we're certainly extremely lucky and spoiled for history in this area. And this goes way, 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 way back. This area, I mean, parts of it, you've got to remember the border here between Scotland and England has moved multiple times over and over and over again. And even when you had a set border, you would have constant skirmishes constantly. There is, if I remember rightly, there's some sort of structure over there which was built to commemorate the death of someone during one of those skirmishes. But the Scots would come and go, and we would do exactly the same. You'd have the border reivers. I can see rabbits on that hill. I'm just going to come out the wind a bit there. But that's beautiful. So that's this line. Looks like it may be some sort of metallic structure. Yeah, bronzed, I'm hoping. I'll wait until this car gets past. Okay, so yeah, I think that's probably bronze. It's certainly not stone. But if anybody knows, they can tell me why the tail points like that. It looks like a lightning conductor. I'll give you a good view of the castle here. So anyone joining, thanks for joining me again. This is just a very brief walk around Alnwick just to show you a very small flavour of what's available here. And as you can see, you've got this beautiful history and then just a normal road for traffic. And it's something we take for granted, and I realise in some countries, the more modern and emerging countries, they don't necessarily have the same level of history, although they say that. I sometimes hear people from America say, oh, you're very lucky, you Brits, you've got all this history. Well, you have history as well. It's more Native American, and you've got masses of history yourself. I'm sure, I'm sure in America, history class is just as difficult as it is here. There's the grounds there. There's a little cheeky car park up there, just in the middle there. So if you were in a camper, you could stay there. Some of the things we have, 100 years old, 100 years old. That's funny, that's funny. If you haven't got the live chat up, that's why I'm talking to myself, because sometimes people send comments saying, who are you talking to? Are you on the telephone? No, it's a live chat. Okay, we'll go back up to the castle and then we'll bear right and we'll go past Baffin Gate and down and then up towards possibly Potter's Gate or something like that. Okay. So this is Walker Gate if you're on Google Maps and you're thinking, where on earth is he now? What's he doing? And Bridge End, it's sometimes known as. And hopefully the signal is maintaining. I can hear a wood pigeon up in the trees there. There's a load of yew trees here. One of them is getting almost smothered in ivy. So a lot of the trees here, you can't see the bark basically, because the ivy works its way all the way up, steals nutrients and water, and unfortunately it looks pretty, but it can invite bugs and bacteria and mold and things like that. Yeah, you're right, Josie, there is a designated viewing point. That designated viewing point, if you go on Google Maps, you might see that sometimes people park there with camper vans and things like that, which I think is great if you were going to do like a tour and you thought we'll stop off in Alnwick, you could park up there, you know, have the night to then go into the town. It's beautiful and it's relatively unspoiled. Okay, we're nearly back at the top here, and then we'll bear around to the right. And I think there's a couple of statues around the corner where you have like the medieval knights and things like that, which is fascinating. The level of intricate detail and workmanship that we're able to put into armour, it's incredible. In fact, even the sandstone walls coming out. Further down the road behind you says Garbiel. There's remains of an old medieval house. Oh, I didn't know that. Where is that? So if I was to go down the hill to the bridge, after the bridge then left, is that right? Okay, we're back at the castle here. I'll just show you for anyone who's just joined there. St. Leonard's Hospital. I didn't know that. Thanks for that, Gar. Appreciate that. Not far past the bridge. Okay, so that bridge I was at with the line on, if you go down there and on the left, St. Leonard. Okay, that's fantastic. I didn't know that. I would normally go back, but I've got a bit of a drive after this. I don't want people listening to me huffing and puffing going up and down hills like an exercise video. A field on the left past that car park. Okay, so Josie, if you can spot that on Google Maps there. So that designated viewing point on the opposite side of the road. Yeah, you know me, I don't mind long walks, but this is just a live stream, so I try to keep them rapid because, you know, you're vying for people's interest. Huge in there. I've been in once, and I've been to the gardens twice, I think. Beautiful place. Well worth the visit, if you don't mind paying. Put it that way. Yeah, you could book me in. I'll tell you all the local areas. I mean, generally you're all right, you know, with a lot of the tours. They know what they're doing, and they'll take you to the decent places. But they miss out on a lot of the what I would call hidden gems. There are a lot of hidden gems. Right, I'm trying to walk backwards here while it's not falling over. So if we come down. Just an Alnwick on Monday. Barter Books, yeah. So for anyone watching, if you go to, I passed Barter Books on the way in here from the east. So for those who don't know, Barter Books is incredible. If you pull that up on Google Maps now and look at the internal views. Wow, God, I used to work in Barter Books. Wow. God, the first time I went to Barter Books, someone just said, oh, it's a place where you can go and buy a book and get a coffee and things like that. And I thought, well, oh, sorry, not Barter Books. Okay, well, I'll continue the story. Apologies for the misconception there, sorry. Barter Books, brilliant place, definitely worth visiting. So you walk in, there's like free tea and coffee. You can leave money if you want, and you can buy like food. It's an old like rail station, so that the area where you eat and drink are like old railway waiting bits. It's a fascinating place. So if you want to pull that up on Google Maps now, beautiful. I'll probably put the link to it in the description, but I'll have to do that later on because obviously I'm out and about at the moment. Or maybe the mods can do it, I don't know. It just came up saying, who would you like to be a mod? And I thought, well, the mods and the skinheads was something in England, but anyway, now look at that up there. See that there? That's where the water can come out. So they have those at intervals. It's not a cannon, it's actually made of stone. Although, I think that may have been changed. They used to be made of stone, that might be more modern and made to look like stone. Because they don't want that falling on people's heads. But look, that crest's gone. There's nothing on that now. Okay, we'll walk down here. Signal may cut out, so I apologise, because obviously very, very, very thick buildings here. It's historic, so they're not really made for this sort of thing. So we'll pop down here. So there's a Castle B&B we're passing, and then a Baffin gate. I love the curve on this street. Look how there's a constant little curve. See it? And as you come to the end, it opens up and you see all the history. Gar says my nan used to travel on the train from Wooler to the station when it was still used to the 50s. Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, so you can say that at least in the 50s then that was a functioning train station. Yeah, exactly. Back in the day, I mean, this would have been beautiful. You can just imagine someone running around here in Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. I just watched the Dungeons and Dragons film, actually. It was okay. I think Chris Pine saved it a bit because he's a good actor. And Michelle Rodriguez, she played a really good character. The other ones, okay, they weren't so bad. Hugh Grant was funny in it. I'll not tell you whether he was a goodie or a baddie or anything, I don't want to spoil it, but he was quite good. So in the distance there you can see there is I think it's a more modern, but it's a representation of a knight in armour. It's been turned into flats, says God. I didn't realise that. Okay, that's a shame. I wish they would stop turning places into flats. It's becoming quite annoying. So this is just down from Potter's Gate, and look at this, look. How's this for an old-fashioned sandstone street in England? Now down here I can smell wood burning, so I'm not sure what type of wood that is. Maybe a bit of pine, a bit of ash, but it's beautiful. Oh, the old school has been redone. Okay. That's the problem, they keep closing these schools, but then they'll build another one somewhere else. Why did they not just keep the one that they had? Now look at that beautiful cherry blossom there. And then you've got that knight in his armour with the sword raised. We'll go and have a look. And if you remember at the start of the video, I mentioned Potter's Gate, which is up there. So right in the middle there, that thing that looks like a tower, you can stay in that. And that central window overlooks Alnwick. So if you want to look that up, it's called Potter's Gate. It might be Airbnb or privately run, I can't remember. And we'll rotate here a little bit. And then this would be looking down towards the main town where you would have, the other gate, which is quite famous. Yeah, you're right, it would be an amazing room to stay in. Actually, Josie, if you pull that up, it will show you the view from that window. And I think it's the living room. We'll go up and have a look, actually, but I'm pretty sure that the living room is overlooking. Okay, let's cross over here to this beautiful cherry tree, which is just starting to shed its blossoms here. And then we'll look at Harry Hotspur. Beautiful, look at that. See, I'm more interested in the cherry blossom than anything else. But that is well looked after. Very relaxing. Right, what we'll do is we'll go and have a look at in fact what I'll do is I'll show you the history of it first, actually. So I'll show you the plaque, which gives you a bit of information about it. So hopefully the signal's still A-OK there. I did some testing on Twitch, and yeah, it's higher frame rate, but still 720, so you're no better off. Very quiet here for midday. It's about 12:30 midday. Hardly anyone around. This is what you would call more the extremity of the main area of Alnwick, though. Looks like the gatehouse is next to the gatehouse, not up in the top. Okay. So let's have a quick look at this. Very interesting. He's got his sword raised up there. And I'll show you the plaque and give you a little bit of information about him. Stunning statue, that. Stunning. So this statue is dedicated to Harry Hotspur, Alnwick's famous knight and one of Shakespeare's best known characters in Henry V, obviously part 2. Look at that, beautiful. I love the old armour. And then you can see he has mail underneath there, which I presume, I was going to say, is this a gambeson? But I don't think it is a gambeson. This looks like some sort of hardened leather, probably. Hardened leather, then you've got the chain mail there. But then he has the full, the full metal on the thigh there. That's not the correct terminology for it in armour. And then you've got mail again under there, so incredible. And then those pointed toes there, articulated pointed toes I should say, they are articulated, they will bend. Beautiful works of art. And then on his side there you've got the dagger with a small crest on. And again you can see, I think they're called a coif, which is the chainmail that goes over the head. If you want to see a modern representation of that, if you're into wrestling and you ever see Scott Steiner, if you look up Scott Steiner and look at what he wears over his head, it's similar to that. It is the coif, basically, the chainmail that goes over the head and leaves the face exposed, so you can see what the hell you're doing. Beautiful. So that's Harry Hotspur. If you wanted a bit more information on that, I thought leather would be better under the mail. To be honest, leather by itself is, it depends what really, I'm not an expert on it, but it depends what you're doing. It depends whether people are slashing at you or using pointed weapons. It depends your position on the field. It can depend on so much. And a lot of it used to depend on how rich you were. So although people would say, well, I would wear this and I would wear that. Well, some people wore next to nothing just to gambeson because they didn't have the money. Not everybody was as rich as the lords. They'd turn up in their gorgeous equipment, sparkling armour, which costs a hell of a lot of money and a hell of a lot of money to repair and a lot of time to make by hand. And yet other people would turn up with, the local militia would turn up with a pitchfork, or the more trained ranks would turn up with axe poles and things like that, pole axes, sorry, and things like that. So it depended on how much money you had, depended on your status, a lot of things. I like this arrow. That's just missed him here. So you can see the notch on the end there. So there's the notch which would go on the bowstring, and then you have the fletching, and then obviously this would be a feather. They would use a feather. And these nicks are where you would put the string over. So you would string it over. So you string it over at intervals, and then it's twined at the bottom there. And then you'd have the different heads. Depending on what you were doing or who you were firing at, you'd have different heads. You'd have one for just bare flesh, and then you'd have I think it calls it bodkin. A bodkin was, some people call it an armour buster. It's not really, but it's certain. They weren't necessarily hardened. They were bad enough. If you were going to get hit by a bodkin, you were in for a bad day, put it that way. And bear in mind, a lot of this armour, you've got all this protection, but it's articulated, and you need sections where you've got mobility, and that's where you're prone to get hit. Obviously training would dictate that they would stand in a certain way not to expose those, but when arrows come in, they can be quite indiscriminate. And from a longbow, like a 60 to 90 pound longbow, you had it, especially if they're up close enough. Beautiful. But there's a little bit of the history there. This is 720, so you may find that hard to have a look at. So there's the Hotspur coat of arms, and there's the unveiling of it in 2010. So Henry Percy was born in 1364 at Alnwick Castle. So that guy from 1364, very interesting. So way, way, way back. Okay, I was only going to maybe do an hour because I think it's going to rain. You may notice from the sky up there, it's looking particularly poor. What I might do is, I don't know if the signal will hold, but I'll quickly walk down here, and then we'll go up to Potter's Gate, and then down to St Michael's, and then we'll probably leave it there. Now here's a little question for you. You've got this Ye Olde Cross here, so an old pub there. It looks like the front's been slightly renovated. But see that coat of arms, you see how it's upside down? It's got the black cross. Does anyone know why that is? So answers in the comments section. Little quiz for you. Okay, so we'll go down this beautiful old-fashioned winding sandstone here. And then you've got the Black Swan, which is a really old pub. There's the Black Swan there. Beautiful buildings, and they're all slightly curving around to the right here. It's fascinating. So anyone who's watching at the moment, again, this is just because people come and go, so I just like to keep you updated. This is a brief look at the one small area of Alnwick. So interestingly, you've got the hill going up to the right there, and then that goes down slightly. So we'll go slightly down, and then we'll go back up and along to the church. And for those who don't know, there's a king's coronation sometime. Whoever just put that comment, sorry if it was Josie, can you just fire me a full stop or something just so it comes back up? So for those who don't know, there's King Charles, because there's some sort of coronation coming up, and there he is looking through the window. Coat is upside down to signify the time of peace. Yeah, well done, well done. You see, Josie knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. Then there's a beautiful clock tower there, which I think is the original town hall. But we'll go down to the left then, around and down. So the bunting that you can see, look at that, beautiful. Now, there used to be a little cheeky cafe down here called Granny's or something like that. I don't know if it's still here. I think I may be on the wrong road and it's further down. Yeah, so we'll go down to this main intersection, then back up, and then we'll go up this alley to the right here. Although I might try and miss that out, because if I go through that alley, chances are the signal will cut out. And I know that's quite sort of annoying for people to have to deal with. It's bad enough when it drops the frame rate and it looks herky-jerky. It looks like, you know, it's like having a hangover. Okay, if we just continue along here, a guy's just gone past eating a big donut. So I'm jealous. I'm not complaining, I'm jealous. Look at that Costa Coffee. So that's a coffee house, but obviously they're utilising an old building there. And you've got the original sandstone over the top there. To the right, that hasn't been redone, but that has on the left there. So I love the way that this place has this mix between new and old. I think that's really, really important, not to lose any of the local history. I mean, it's absolutely fine to have new stuff and evolve, but don't lose anything in that process. Yeah, so there's the main gate that used to be on the outside of the... Look at the size of those binoculars. Who needs binoculars that big? Crumbs. You've really got to be nosy to need ones that big, unless you're in the Navy. So there's the main gate. Now, as you can see, as we get closer, you'll see traffic going through that gate. Now, the width of that gate has never changed since old days, so if you try and get a delivery vehicle through there now, it is a nightmare. There's actual scratch marks on the inside because of that. M&Co used to be Woolworths. Yeah, God, yeah. Woolworths, whatever happened to them? They shut down, didn't they? When I was a kid, that was the place to go. Get yourself to Woolworths. Okay, so onto the main street here. A lot more busy, but a lot more shops. And you have this multi-level effect where all of these shops are slightly up on a hill, raised. So we'll go along here, But I just want you to see that that gate, I mean, it's unfortunate you can't really see from here, but all the traffic has to queue because it's so, you know, there's no, because that's a historical building, there's no way they can enlarge that entrance. So if you want to go that way, you've got to wait for traffic coming the other way. It's hilarious. But I'd rather that they keep that because it's a little piece of the local history. And it's no good just smashing everything down. Okay, so we'll pop up here. And up here should be the old market section, I think. I always get confused between this and Berwick-upon-Tweed's market. We've got a similar setup where they're in like a really old town. You can hear some music, so hopefully it's not copyrighted. No, it's someone actually singing. So in the background there with that clock tower, that's the old town hall near Park Street, I think it's called. And we'll pop through here, and if it cuts out, bear with me.
Take the glory any day over the fame, baby. Sweet baby. I've been trying to enjoy all the fruits of my labor. I've been crying by your boy, but truth is my savior. Baby, sweet baby, if the song is where are you? I see you at 1:30. I'm going to jump on.
Okay, let's see if we can get down, I think it's Pike Street or Pake Street, however you want to pronounce it. Now it's either down there or down that one. I don't know if this is a dead end. We'll have a look. You can actually pop through there, but I'm guessing it'll be I'll do it as quick as I can because the signal will go out, so bear with me a few seconds. Okay, hopefully the signal should be back now. And we are back on a side street there. Oh wow, Josie kept the signal. That is incredible. I'll show you where I just walked through. So we've got these here to stop people flying through on bikes, but then I'll show you once this traffic clears. I was actually dubious as to whether that would hold. So I'll show you in just a second here. So obviously it's sandstone and then you've got residential over the top of it, but look, it's completely enclosed. So how that kept the signal, you know, isn't that strange? It'll keep a signal there, and yet when I'm out in the middle of nowhere where it should keep a signal, it doesn't. And there's a little pheasant. So you see on that feather on the left there, at the bridge I was describing the pheasant, which is like a rusty brown and then it has like a coloured face. So that's one there. That's not necessarily an actual feather from that, because that barn owl that's not a feather from a barn owl, obviously, and the same with that kingfisher. But that's just what that bird looks like. Okay, so if we pop down here, just wait for this traffic to clear. Yeah, Gar, you're completely right. They do run in front of cars. It's almost like they've got a death wish, and I don't know why they do it. Rabbits sometimes do that, or they'll run in front of the car, and then they think, if I just stop here, you know, that'll solve everything. Some great stuff here for the house, look. You've got a little stag there, horse. I don't know who's going to put that in the house. Danny LaRue, maybe? But you've got that choice, because it's all about choice, isn't it? Sorry if I'm missing comments, but I'm trying not to fall over, and the problem is, in an old place like this, you've got the cobbled streets. It's Especially you can see on the left the cobbles, it's hard. That chair would be a great table for flashlight reviews. Actually, do you know what? That's actually a good idea because it's got so many colours. I could test the CRI of lights. Now look at this. If you think parking's hard enough, look at the angle there. You're on a little hill. Let's come up onto the hill so you can see a bit more. I'll probably do about an hour once we hit the church, and then I'll let people get on with their day. Or people in Australia, you can go to bed. Because I'm guessing, is it about 10 past 10 there? No, 10 to 10 or 10 o'clock. That's my final answer. 10 o'clock in Oz. Right. Some real old buildings here. Look at the woodwork on here. Oh, 9:50, I was right. See, I'm getting better. My internal clock is now synchronised. I haven't got a clue what time it is here, but in Oz, yep, got it. So we're now back on the street that we came down. So if you remember, as we came up, we looked at Prince Charles, or King Charles, or whatever he is these days. And there's that beautiful old building. Look at the work on there. Stunning. Lovely stonework. It's a shame it's not a sunny day because it really brings out the work on this stone. Fine, beautiful, intricate hand stonework. And there's the street that I came down with the town hall clock tower in the middle there. Okay, let's head down past the Strawberry Lounge. Now that doesn't sound historic, does it? You'd be lucky to have, most people wouldn't be sitting eating strawberries in the olden days in medieval times. They grow wild here. If you've just joined here, this is we're getting towards the end of the Alnwick tour. Just one very, very small part of Alnwick though. And we are passing Harry Hotspur there. Now it looks like someone's put some flowers in his fat half, yeah. So if you remember before, we had a look at his dagger on his right hip. He's got the sword on his left, but then you've got the dagger. But if you look at that dagger, someone has actually put some white cherry blossom. I'll show you. So there's Harry, born here in 1364. Yeah, they've put cherry blossom there, so that's nice. But obviously this is all metal, whole thing. Beautiful. Look at the hinges, which you would have in actuality. You'd have the rivets there, which would be peened over, and then this would open. Incredible. And then on the other side, you'd have the belt, which you'd tighten that. But obviously each armour set is custom made for the wearer, don't forget that. It's hard to tell. I would guess this isn't solid because it was done, was it something like 15 years ago they updated this, so no, I would guess this isn't solid. There would have been cast bronze originally. Beautiful. Look at the angles on that helmet as well. Obviously, the angles aren't just an aesthetic value, they're to deflect incoming blows. So if you look at that, if people say, well, why is that pointed? Why is it not round? Well, you're trying to deflect. It's not trying to get a bit of, wind, cut down on wind resistance. There is a purpose to all of it. Same with the mouth guard. It's to deflect blows away, even incoming arrows. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll pop over here and we'll go up to Potter's Gate, where you can actually stay. Can you believe it? You could come to an area like this, and I don't work for them, I'm not trying to promote them, but you'd actually come, and I'll show you, you can stay in a part of the old medieval fortiments. So that's it there, that tower looking structure. So there's one big window there which overlooks Alnwick, so we're walking away from the main body of Alnwick. And this would have consisted of, or been part of, the old wall. So you can stay in there. If you want to look that up, do a Google. I don't know how they're fighting those helmets. Visibility would be limited. Well, you're completely right, Josie. Visibility is limited, but the option is you wear that, and each blow can be dealt with. If you don't wear it, one blow, and bear in mind, we're going back to medieval times. Modern medicine wasn't really a thing. You didn't have antibiotics. They would chop things off. If you got a really deep cut, that could be it. Septicemia and dead. So it's almost like wearing a spacesuit. It severely limits movement, despite what they might say, but it's completely necessary to keep you alive in the long run. So look at that beautiful work on the top of there, that sandstone. Incredible. I'll just pass over here. And there is some stonework left on there that I can see. There's St James's Church Centre. Another beautiful building. Josie, how's the audio? Because I've gone for a +3 gain. Because I noticed in the last one it maybe wasn't loud enough. I don't know if it's too loud now. We'll just see how that goes. So there, you can stay in there. Now to the left and the right, you can see the old, what's left of the old wall which would have gone around Alnwick. So you see that section there, that would have extended that direction. And the same on the left there, you would have the wall going that way. But obviously expansion and changes and things come down and go. So Josie's saying, when I was in St Andrews, they showed us that new church built in 1300s. I suppose, yeah. I know, it even stuns me on some of them when they say this is from 1042, and I think, my goodness, it really, puts into perspective how unimportant I am as just a fleeting moment in time. You've got all this history that goes way back. Now, interestingly, is that St Andrew there, killing the dragon? Let's have a look. This is about as close as I can get. Standing on a wall. That's a great one there, done in stone. He's got the wings there, so he's either sainted or it's a representation of something else. He's got like the Cossack frock. So I wonder if that's one of the, I presume it's one of the saints. He doesn't have like something over his head. And he's stabbing one of the dragons. Quite funnily, I was laughing at Carl Pilkington when he said, he said you would never get away with that these days because they're always trying to save wildlife, but he was going around killing the last dragon. You completely missed the point of it being mythology only. Well, I like a bit of Carl Pilkington. Okay, so I'll rotate round just to show you this. This is Argyle Place we are in, if you want to look it up on Google Maps. Beautiful and well within reach of the attractions of the town there. Right, we'll pass through here. Let's see if the signal goes out. Edlingham Church is one of the oldest remaining churches in Northumberland. I think I've been there. If you go to my Northumberland playlist and you go to Hepburn Woods, I think it is, and I visit there, it's so old that it's collapsing. It's literally just crumbling into nothing. And we are through the gate, so that was Potter's Gate. I'll go over the road so you can get a good look at it. Dragons seem very mythological culture, surely some old creatures. I mean, talking of mythology and dragons, you could argue, and some people have, that it's an amalgamation and almost a conglomerate of things that you should be scared of. So naturally, without being taught otherwise, you'd be scared of things with large talons. So dragons have that. Serpents, you could argue that dragons are serpent-like. It's also got the big sharp teeth of a predator. It has the forward-facing eyes of a predator. So you could argue that all it is, I'm not saying this is right, but you could say that a dragon is a conglomerate of all these things that you would associate with something to avoid, and therefore it represents itself as a threat, and it can be used in you know, medieval tales and things like that. I would agree with that to a degree, yeah. I mean, I'm certainly not saying, well, hang on, dragons might have been real. You can look at examples of the Komodo dragon. They are massive, but they're more reminiscent of a huge iguana without the spines, although they do have sort of a venom almost in their teeth. But none of them are breathing fire, are they? It's not like Lord of the Rings. Anyway, I could go on about that, but I won't. Okay, so Northumberland Street and Dispensary Street, and if you listen in the distance, can you hear that? That's the bells of the church, and we are heading to St. Michael's, which is another church, and we'll end the stream there because I've done an hour. What a beautiful view that is, if this car doesn't run me down. Look at that, it's stunning. You can see down the main street there, and then you can stay in there. Stunning. I can hear a crow or a rook in the trees. So as for this place, just to give you a bit of background, historic place here. It's so old, I can smell the wood fires, which I always associate with lovely old places. If you ever get a chance, go to Durham, the main parts of Durham, York Minster and places like that. Beautiful historic places, well within reach of this area and well worth the visit. I'll pull back a bit there. 300's very old. I wonder how much it differs from the original. Well, hopefully, I mean, it depends. I mean, these days, especially where a lot of the buildings are marked as heritage pieces, you have to, if you're going to have any work done on them, they have to look identical to the originals, but that wasn't always the case. Conservancy wasn't always first in mind, it was cost and who owned it. And then we're going past a Glebe cottage. Look how peaceful that is. Look, they've got a lovely big back garden full of daffodils. Beautiful. It seems to be the original sandstone as well. Look at all the moss on here. Look at the edge of that. That's soft. It's like velvet. And look at the erosion on there. Look. I love seeing that because it means there's been a real passage of time. And there's the old vicarage. That plaque's new, obviously, but that's being redone. Beautiful. Okay, we're nearly at St. Michael's, where I've started the stream, and rabbits running around. There was a blackbird. Beautiful. I've just passed a hop tree there. You don't normally see them. I don't know if it's classed as a tree or a shrub, but hops are what you make your beer out of. Right, we are now back. Alnwick Castle Gardens to the right. Wooler, which is another town, is to the left, but 18 miles away, so quite substantial. And then you've got Berwick, 29 miles. If you were to head right and up the A1 to the north. So if you're interested in that, you can go to my Northumberland playlist, and I think I've done a one called Berwick Walls or something, or Berwick upon Tweed Walls or something like that, because fascinating history of the old walls there. Okay, so we'll get in here, show you what the entrance looks like. But God's saying just behind the vicarage was the old church's high school, now knocked down. Oh, right, okay. Was that place on the right hand side as I was going up the Potter's Gate? There's a beautiful yew tree. There'll be no berries on it yet. The yew tree was used to make the longbows because you have different strengths of wood and pliability, so it was ideal for it. So you don't find a lot of them, although you do find a lot of them in this sort of places. Duchess, not churches. I'm not sure what that comment means. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. That's my fault, not yours. also known as the tree of death. I know a lot about yew trees from RuneScape. Oh, okay, so what did they say in RuneScape? Because I know them as being historically used for certain wood things, and especially the traditional English longbow. They were incredible for that. Allow you to make a compound bow to a degree. Really, really good. There's an edible part on it, but I'm not going to mention that. I don't want to mention it and someone mishears it, because the rest of it is poisonous. So please stay away from them. Classically, I mean, it depends who you ask, but they're known as the tree of death, and sometimes you'll see them in this setting to stop people letting the livestock go through this area and eat, because you don't want that in a graveyard. And obviously the clippings from this and certain sections of it will kill wildlife. So cows, horses, it doesn't matter, it'll kill them. So their main use in RuneScape was making bows. Okay, yeah. If you are going to look up the edible part, don't do it. You can do it, but the problem is, I mean, I'll say it, but it's the fruit. So if you take the berries, they're edible. However, please be careful, because the pip isn't edible. It'll kill you. It'll suffocate you to death. So my advice is, don't eat anything on that. Don't touch it. Don't go anywhere near it. Okay? Yeah, Josie, it's one of these things where I don't like giving out too much wild edible advice, because people might mishear it and then go, well, you said, and I didn't. I don't want people getting injured under any circumstances. So, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't be taking advice from a nobody like me on YouTube on what you should and shouldn't eat as a wild edible. That's what it comes down to. Trust nobody. You want at least 3 sources. And if they're all saying the same thing, that would suggest that that's probably correct. So we're heading down towards St. Michael's here. God's saying the only wild things I eat are blackberries. Do you never eat blueberries or blaeberries? It depends where you are now. But I eat blueberries all the time. Wild blueberries, wild strawberries. What else do I eat? Quite a lot. Wood sorrel, things like that. There's all sorts of things you can eat. If you find it wherever you live, if you just look up local edibles online, it'll tell you. You'll be surprised. There's a lot more than you would think. Never see them whilst out and about. Well, it depends where you are. You'd be surprised. The trick is, you probably have seen them. However, they only fruit at certain times of the year. To get the crop, it's got to be at a specific time of the year. Can you see that wild rabbit there? You see it? In the middle. I'll see how close I can get before it moves. Now, they have wraparound eyes because they are predated on. So it's seen me perfectly well now. It knows I'm here. It's just thinking, is he a threat? You see it there, eating the grass? Look at that. Oh, he's off. Whoosh. You can see this. Now, interestingly, he has led me to a hazel. So is anyone here like hazelnuts? Here is an actual hazel tree. So I love hazel trees. Look how beautiful gnarled they are. You get this beautiful, almost like a fractal design. Beautiful, the way it curves and twists. To me, it makes them very readable to identification. And then this time of year, here's the seeds pods coming down. But right time of year, you can get the hazelnuts. Lovely. The problem is you've got to get them before the squirrels get them, and that's not an easy task. Oh, so Josie, you've never seen a hazel tree. Again, you probably have, but somebody has never pointed it out. That's the thing. So up close, I mean, these are very new leaves that are coming out. So there's the leaves there coming out. But look at this twisted, gnarled, beautiful, and it also has a very fine, it almost looks like the fuzz that you get on, it's very similar to a kiwi fruit. You get that black hair, and then you get like these little sort of dappled effect, beautiful little trees, hazelwood, and getting the nuts. But again, you need a large hazelwood, some sort of plantation or something like that, you'll be able to get them. But again, trying to get them before the wildlife get them, it's not straightforward. There's that rabbit again. Now he's hiding under what looks like a non-fully formed, what is that? He's away, he's gone. If anyone can guess what this is, I think this could be it's spiky. There, see that little spike? You pointed out that turret on the north was used for the Scottish and being from the... Isn't that interesting? Okay, so that there, thanks for that comment, so that was actually used as a watch point. In fact, if we come around the side, you'll be able to see if there are windows. There are actually. You see the little, I mean, the technical term isn't, but you see those slits, and sometimes people refer to them as arrow slits and things like that. Yeah, you see the little slits there? It looks like they've got glass on now. But you've got one there, one there. In regards to that, the border has changed so many times. There's rapid changes in regards to skirmishes and things like that. So it was a fluid thing. It changed, it went up, it went down. Berwick, which I pointed out, 29 miles up the A1 to the right, was part of Scotland at one point, and then it wasn't, and then it was, and then it wasn't. It's incredible, and there's a castle near there, which I did one of on my Northumberland playlist. Again, on there, the Scots brought massive cannons and smashed down the walls and what have you. Stunning. Look at that architecture. Now, unfortunately, you can't see the stained glass windows because of idiots. They've had to put plastic over. If we get close, you might be able to see, but you'll only see it from the inside. So can you see you've got what I call leaded windows? So you have lead laid on it, but then you have the stained glass. Now, again, it's covered in plastic and you can't see it. You may see like a knight in the middle there. It's very hard to see. I can hardly see it. Yeah, it's very hard to see. And there's like a baby Jesus and looks like a Mother Mary and things like that. That's a shame. And look at that king. See there? That carving right in the middle of the screen there. It's like a king. He's got the king's crown on there and the mutton chops and the curly hair. Beautiful. So you have him there, the king. And then you have the Queen on the left-hand side. So you can see here there, I'll try and get as close as I can. So she's right in the middle now. So she's got her crown on there, the regal crown and the long hair. Hand done in sandstone. Okay, so I think we'll end it here unless anyone's got any questions or they want to do any shout outs and say, I'm from Singapore, I'm from here, I'm from there. Feel free to do so, because I'll leave it running whilst I just pack some stuff away. I'll leave it running for about 2 or 3 minutes or something like that, just so people can clear off more or less. All right, but look at this door here. Look. Now I'm going to walk towards it and see what it comes up to. So there's the door. Now you probably don't believe me, but if I turn this around, watch. So if I turn it around, there's me, right? So look. Look, there's my head. I'm standing normally. There's my head. So it comes up to my ears. Isn't that incredible? Look. You know, I haven't got platform shoes on or anything like that, just normal. Let's turn that back around. Boosh. I'll try to. We'll press the button for a second time. Eh? When in doubt, press it 3 or 4 times. Okay, I'll probably end this in the next couple of minutes. I can actually hear in the church there, it sounds like they're on the organ. So the organ is a wind sort of instrument where they use a series of baffles. You'll have heard it before. You're a tall bloke, ain't you, 6'4"? Yeah, I am. True. Now, obviously, going back, you generally wouldn't get people who are 6'4". Highly unlikely. They would probably, well, they would have them, but they would probably be referred to as giants or something similar like that. But beautiful place, beautiful. Okay, so I'll walk around to the other door and just see what that sign says, and then we'll leave it there because I really need to make tracks. Now here's a better representation of the stained glass windows. These ones don't have that horrible cover on, so you can see there. I mean, they're much better from the inside, obviously, because the light comes from the outside, and they have a pattern painted on and like faces and things like that. That's interesting, Gar, here. Because normally people would say, well, I'm not watching something about an area that I know. And hey, I am no expert. I am definitely no expert. None of my stuff is said with much authority, but I just like to share places where you can come for nothing, have a little wander around and find a bit of history, and it's incredible. Yeah, it's a shame with those stained glass windows, but they will look better on the inside. And again, it's a very, very overcast day. And there's some little Like little snapdragons or something growing in the mortar. Ah, look. I would go in, but look, it's closed. Yeah, exactly, Guy, you're completely right. And the vandals spoil it. I mean, I can't imagine trying to smash something that's like hundreds and hundreds of years old. I don't understand what the benefit is. Now, how's that look? How's that for like Lord of the Rings, RuneScape style, or Oblivion? Look at that, beautiful. Yeah, Josie, I think he's right. They'll use older glass, which is not so opaque, and then they'll put plastic on, strengthened plastic and things like that. Look at that, beautiful. So there's a real bit of history. Look at that. Solid. Now it looks like it's been moved at some point. That's interesting. Look, see how that doesn't line up? It doesn't line up there, and it doesn't line up there. Now how has that moved? Now, is that the skeleton trying to get out? What does it say on here? It says something and Mary. I can't read that. It's eroded away. Fascinating. People used to pay to be closer to the church, so that was probably someone quite important. The really important people would be in the actual church itself. I could try and recenter it, but the problem is it's going to be a nightmare. That. This is a beautiful, beautiful view here. William and Mary. Okay. So here's the houses. Very old style houses here. And behind them they've got like little place where they can grow. Look at the size of those gardens. And then it's Scots pine here, rhododendrons, and holly, and then masked by yew trees. You can hear it's all gravelled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you here and do a runner. What do you think about that? So if I do this and then I do that, right, that is the end of the stream. So I'm going to pretend to walk off here. Let's see if this works. Right, that's it. That's the end of the stream. We are at St Michael's here in Alnwick. I've just showed you a very, very small area here. Very, very small. Really pushed away. To the side actually is Hune Park. Again, go to my Northumberland playlist for that. I did cover that. It's a beautiful place, massive. You can't walk dogs there. I don't know if you're allowed mountain bikes and things like that, but it's definitely worth it, worth the visit for peace and quiet and solitude. So thank you very much for joining me. If you have any questions, stick them in the comment section because I'm not going to read them now. I've got a long drive. I'm going to go straight over the border there. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope the wind hasn't been too bad, and hopefully, I mean, the wind's getting up here. Hopefully it won't knock the camera over, and I'm going to do a runner. So goodbye. I'm off. I'm never coming back. Okay, I decided I will come back. Bear in mind, I need the phone back basically. So thanks for joining me. I'm away. Have a lovely day.